It was the best of times, and it was the worst of times. No, I'm not going to quote Dickens, and I can't remember the rest of it anyway. But I am going to use it to describe a tale of two medias, because I think it's important to understand the difference between how the medias perform on the latex printers, the two differences in the type of media, and why it's important to understand what I'm going to go over. Now, this is focused primarily at a print and cut workflow. The print and cut workflow has unique attributes, and some of the things with medias, even though the media is certified, are going to require some considerations. You know, you need to step back and understand the way the media performs and then take action accordingly. First, I have two medias. One is on the 310 over here. And the media on the 310 is a Oracal Aurajet 3640G. The 3640 is a widely used, inexpensive, calendared monomeric vinyl. It is what you would use fairly widely for inexpensive indoor and short-term outdoor decals and stickers. The next media that I have is over here. And this media is on the 335. And it is also a media by Oracal Aurajet, and it is the 3551G. Now this is a polymeric calendared vinyl, so it is a step up. It is a give or take double the price. So these two medias I downloaded from our HP Media Locator. The HP Media Locator lists both of them as certified, and then it has a slash, and then it says profiled. And I have them up on the screen here, although you probably can't see them. And what it shows is a slash down the middle, and it has a blue section in one part of the rectangle says certified, and the other part says profiled. What that means is one of the modes is certified and one of the modes is profiled. Certification carries with it more evaluation, and we have an elaborate and substantial standard that we create that requires you to go through, I believe it's 15 or 16 points that you have to pass them all. And it's quite involved. So to be certified means that it's really been looked at. We spent a lot of care and a lot of time evaluating it. The 3640 and the 3551 are both listed on the locator as having one mode certified and one mode profiled. However, when you open up the 3640, that is true. You go to download media preset, you put in your printer, in my case a 315, and it shows that the 10-pass 120 is certified and the 8-pass 100% density is profiled. When you go to the 3651, you see the complete opposite. It's supposed to be both a certified and a profiled, but in reality, they're listed as profiled only for both modes, which is strange. So then when you go to the printers on the interface itself, right here on the printer interface button, the 3640 is listed as being certified, and then the 3651 is listed as profiled only. So that's a little confusing, and I'm not entirely sure what status the 3551 is. What I do know is regardless of status, they have almost identical modes and identical ink loads and identical temperatures. So the 3640, which is over on the 315, which is your inexpensive monomeric calendared, is 241 degrees Fahrenheit. It has a 10-pass mode at 110% density, and it has an 8-pass mode at 100% density. Those settings are exactly the same on the 3651. Here's the problem. These are very different medias. The 3640 is much more temperature sensitive, and it has a different liner. It has what we call a short chain composition. The 3651 is an intermediate vinyl, and that has a much different composition and performs differently. The main difference between the two is when you go to print from the pinch rollers, especially with print and cut workflow, this particular product, as you can see here, it has almost only about 2 inches at most before you get to the first registration mark. So this is printing right at the pinch rollers, and it's going through the printer with no issues whatsoever. I have almost no waste. So when you do a print and cut job, and at the end of the job, you either tell it automatically to cut or you decide to cut, once it's done, it rolls back to the pinch roll and prepares for the next job. If you do that with a 3640, not only is it going to fail, it's almost certainly going to head strike. And this is how it's going to head strike. If you look at this printer, I have the job, the media sticking out from the edge of the platen about 1 inch. If I were to send a job to this, I would not print at the pinch rollers unless I had a leader taped to the front of it. And the reason I wouldn't is because what's going to happen here, and I've already verified this multiple times. I'm not going to do it again because there's no reason for me to potentially risk damaging one of the print heads. When the media warms up, it's going to get to 241 degrees and it's going to release the media. And then it's going to start printing and everything is fine. And then right maybe a couple minutes into it, just as it started to print, these fans here are going to go on. And when those fans go on, that media, if you get down and look into the little curing zone here, that media is going to get pulled up into the top of the roof of this platen, of the curing area, curing zone platen, and it's going to touch, and when that happens, it's going to fold in the print zone and you're going to have a head strike. It's going to do this repeatedly. And it's not unique to the Oracal Orajet 3640. The Avery 3303 series, I've had it do this. I've had it do it with the 3M IJ15 and IJ35. I've had it do it with the Arlon 510. Inexpensive monomeric vinyl can be prone to this issue. And as a result, I tend to start it with a little more waste on the first print. And it's because I don't want it to happen. Now, there are some things that you can do, like taping a leader. That is certainly a solution. And that's usually I'll roll it out. I'll put a little table here, lay it out flat, have a leader that I've already pre-cut that I use. I usually take some 3M tape. I like the blue tape, but you can use I would use a 2-inch tape, and then you tape it evenly across, then have the leader hang down, and you're not going to have the issue. If you pass this curing zone a bit, the weight of the material and the surface area that's going through the printer generally allows it not to happen. But it only really happens on your first print if you're printing back from the pinch rollers. So here I have a certified media that is, in my estimation, a little too hot. I would probably reduce from 10 pass to 12 pass, and then I would slow it, but that's actually slowing it down. I'd put a little inner pass delay on it and probably go from 100%, 110% density down to 100% density, and I would lower it from 241 down to something more manageable like 205. If I lower the heat, an inexpensive monomeric vinyl like this is going to run a lot more effectively than when I'm running that warm. They're just not that great with that much heat, and that's pretty much true across the board. Now, if I want to run a polymeric vinyl like this very nice Orajet 3551, I can run this with a lot more tension. After I cut for print and cut, I can send the next print, and you can usually run print after print, because between the vinyl and the liner, the 241 degrees is not affecting it. It's not coming up. I think that the heat makes or exacerbates the issue here, but even with the heat lower, this issue where the monomeric vinyls can go through the curing zone and pull up into those fans once they go on is something that I encounter. I've been playing around with a bunch of different settings, and I've never found one that convinces me that I could run this trouble-free without thinking about it back from the pinch rollers going through without those fans pulling it. So to some degree, in a print and cut workflow, you may need to think through that even though those medias are certified, they still are subject to that problem occurring. If I were to run 3M IJ40 or this very nice Orajet 3551 or to a certain extent the Avery 2903, which is a polymeric vinyl, those issues tend to disappear, or they're significantly mitigated. I think it may have something to do with the liner. It may certainly have something to do with the material and its resistance to buckling, that it stays flat and it goes through the curing zone without getting pulled up. I wanted to explain this to you because here's the irony. This 3551 is not certified, or it may be certified, or it's not quite clear, and yet it works fine. This is definitely my choice if I'm going to run media without having to consider that it might get pulled up into those fans, and that's a very difficult problem because it happens when I turn my back. All of a sudden now I have a head strike and the material stopped. I have to push the carriage away. Hope it has not affected my alignments, which are very tightly done. I tend to do them manually because I'm real fastidious about that. And then I got to restart the printer in most cases and then roll that material that is now just waste and trash. When I consider all that I go through, it's just not worth it. What's worth it is I load either this Aurajet 3551 or the IJ40. I've been using the IJ40 matte, and I can run job after job after job completely unattended, back from the pinch rollers with no consideration that I'm going to turn around and have a head strike. With this one, I have to remember that after I hit cut, go to my cutter, I've got to take this material on the next print and roll it forward or put a leader on it, or I could have an issue here. Now I'm going to continue to work and see if I can get a low temperature formulation that makes it more bulletproof, and it certainly makes the material lay a lot flatter with less deformation when I lower the temperatures. I think 241 degrees is just too hot in my personal opinion. I'll see if I can do that, and then I'll post a video if I've had success. But no matter what I've tried, it doesn't entirely solve that problem. And at the moment, I think either rolling it forward or a leader is going to be your best solution. So this is a tale of two materials that, even though they have almost identical settings, the nature of the material is structurally so different. And I think it's worth noting that these monomeric vinyls do this so that you're not taken by surprise wondering, you know, is there something wrong with my printer? Is there something wrong with the way we're loading it? Is there something wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong. It's just the nature of that material from the pinch rollers on a print and cut. It tends to follow a certain pattern. The pattern is revolving around monomeric vinyls. And at the moment, our solutions are roll it forward, or our solutions are to tape a leader onto it. We're going to continue to look at this. I'll continue to see if I can do settings with the vacuum and settings with the temperatures and see if I can reduce this tendency, or if I find one monomeric vinyl that's better than another in this respect, I'll certainly make a video in that regard. But at the moment, all of them tend to be a little suspect, and I think all of them run a little better at, say, 210, somewhere between a window of 200 and 210 degrees. I think you'll get better results than running at 241.